Welcome back. When Thibault Linneman moved the Lee Reynolds building in the 1890s, I doubt if he had someone as efficient as Okla Construction to help do it, but with me today is Daryl Eaker, project manager for the Lee Reynolds construction site. Daryl, when we saw pictures of the Lee Reynolds building in the studio here a while back, of the building out at Fort Supply. When you saw the building and started tearing it down out there, what major problems and complications did you guys run across?
Well, we thought it was in a lot better shape whenever we were looking at it to move into town. It was supposed to be buried 3 feet deep into the ground with the poles. Whenever we got out there, the logs were a lot worse off than we thought. They were more rotten from the ground below, so they're about 3 foot shorter than originally. And the roof was completely gone.
What, it rotted out or something in the years?
Yes, it completely rotted out. We're going to have to go back and piece it back in a little bit by a little bit. But the
materials that were completely gone, are we just going to use newer wood or newer materials, or what?
No, there was some other lumber in another barn right there beside the older lumber too, and we're going to go back with it. Okay. Some of the old-time dimensional lumber. The one piece that we are using is a womanized lumber for the bottom plate, so that we won't have the problem with the ground rot on the bottom of it again. Okay, from that point now, when we got it all tore down, and I've noticed we've got some boards here laying down on the ground. What do? Do you make a frame, or just how did you decide to go about doing it like that? Well, we brought it in log by log, and we tried to put them together in 16-foot lengths in wall sections. Put a top plate and a bottom plate.
Notice you got them numbered.
Right, each numbered, so we know exactly where it came out of, and the windows and doors all go back in the same place. We're trying to get it just like it came out of the old original homestead.
You lay the log down and you make a frame, and then what?
Then we're going to come back in and put the joists together. The joists, and you see these holes that they've bored out?
Right.
There's 2 of 6 joists. Then we'll add the roof on top of that and go ahead and shingle it. Then we're going to come back in there and just put slats and all these little gaps in between the logs, and then come back in with a mortar type mix.
Yeah, Sarah called it chilting, and I think it's being analyzed in the city right now for to be able to come back in and use some of the same types of materials to.
Yes, it is.
Let me ask you this: when you were tearing it down, did you find any kind of like older materials, and just the construction styles back then and the way that we do things now? What kind of differences have you seen here?
Well, we've started taking. We got a 5-gallon bucket of square nails that we completely took out of this cabin. There was old style electrical wiring. This is as later on they remodeled it, made it kitchen area type, and had electricity to it later. They used old newspapers under the matting, under the floor matting and all that for insulation. Just any little thing they could come up with, they put in there.
I noticed we saw a target of an old fort over there, some fort I guess that the soldiers used to take pot shots at or something.
Right, they use that underneath a layer of shingles trying to help preserve the lumber. And that was most on the lean-to. The lean-to was added later on in part of the kitchen area.
Why do you suppose, modern, the way I think of a log cabin, you think of horizontal logs. Why do you suppose back then they built their cabins with logs going straight up?
Well, it's on the structural basis that it's a lot easier to put together. They just dug a trench, stuck the logs 3 foot in the ground, put a stone under each log, and then buried it, and then your wall's standing.
So it's sturdier. It's a sturdier building.
And it's probably quicker.
Okay, well, let's go look at some other things that we've got here. Daryl, has Okla Construction ever done anything like this before? I mean,
not this type of assembly.
Well, as far as I understand it, there's very few buildings that have ever tried to be moved. Even in the United States, not only Oklahoma. But I think when Okla Construction gets through with this one, it should be proud to have your name on it. Now here we got the barn door back over here. We can get a close-up of this. We can see the brands. It looks like brands on the that Used to be a blacksmith.
Yeah, originally, it was a blacksmith shop in Fort Supply. They moved it there later on, approximately 90 years ago. They moved it out to the farm for the homestead, original homestead. But at first, it was a blacksmith shop.
Well, this is pretty old wood here. Now, this is not old cedar here. Is it like the walls back there?
This is cedar. This is cedar. Mm-hmm.
Does that cedar hold up easier than most other wood, or do you think they made it out of cedar because that's all they could find?
No, cedar's supposed to not rot. It won't rot near as bad as all your other lumbers.
So really, the guy that built it, Lindeman, really kind of knew what he was doing as far as
construction stuff, type of lumber and everything. Yes.
And design.
Right.
Well, Darrell, I know you've seen this old house on public television, but I bet you never thought it would get this far, huh?
Nope, not at all.
Well, what's the project date as far as completion goes?
Just weather permitting, it'll be another couple of weeks.
Well, good luck to you, and I hope everything goes for you all right, and the Lee Reynolds building is restored back to its original shape. Thanks a lot. We'll be back with more of Inside Woodward right after this. Northwest Oklahoma Harvest Days Tennis Tournament. You know,